I'm the Deadwood Jedi. There's another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today's video is definitely a little different from my usual fare. It's a clan boss video, so it's not that different, but we are going to be talking about the Bateater comp. This is the most commonly used comp for any end game player in this game. This is kind of the pinnacle, right? As far as clan boss teams, it's really the best that there is. Now, the reason why is not only is it really easy to run. In fact, with the new skill prioritizations, we can fully auto it. And I'm going to show you how we do that today. In addition to that, it's pretty easy to one key with it. You only have one damage dealer. So if you can maximize the skill, crit damage and attack of all the champions, you can one key fairly easily. It's not for everybody. Not every Bateater can do that, but it certainly has that potential, and you can do it with a variety of champions as well. It's not limited to just having Draco, though Draco's the easiest. You can do it with Fane, you can do it with Bellinor, you can do it with Aina, you can do it with actually a fair range of champions in this comp. In addition to that, it's affinity friendly. The speeds don't change depending on difficulty. So if you're running Ultra Nightmare, Nightmare, Brutal, it'll work. In fact, this will work on hard, and I believe it even works on easy, though in order to keep it affinity friendly, you do have to tweak a couple little things. But I mean, talk about your perfect comp and build. So one of the interesting things, I was doing a takeover today, and I do want to give a quick shout out to my Patreons. If you guys would like a takeover like Lowell did, or you would like some coaching, that's the place to sign up for it. There's links down below in the description of this video, as well as in the comments. But if we were doing a takeover today, and we were going to work on the Bateater. I was looking at his team. He had 2 man-eaters. He was doing like maybe 14 million on Ultra Nightmare, right? For like almost a 4-key team. And I was looking at it, I was like, well, he's got 2 man-eaters. Let's see if he has the speeds. And this is typically what we do. And he had the speed gear, I felt, to make this work. And so we did it. Interesting thing, though, none of the champions have full masteries. They have like partial masteries, right? But none of the champions we were using have full masteries. That means no War Master, no Giant Slayer, and that's such a huge part of the damage that we bring to this kind of a team. So what I thought I would do today is I would show you this team. Like, I haven't displayed a Bateater team. We all know what it is. But what I thought would be interesting is, I haven't even run this yet. I want to see the damage that we can do without War Master on all of our champions. Now, I have it on one champion. There's one champion that has all the essential masteries on him. And I'm actually going to do a game on video down below, and I'll cover all the masteries that you'd want to use for this team, right? I'll go over exactly why you use each one of the masteries we pick, and you can kind of check that out if you like. That'll be linked down below. But I thought it would be neat to see, like, how much damage does this team do without masteries? How powerful is the Bateater? Because the Bateater's good not just because the affinity-friendly part, the auto part, the damage potential. We got to realize why it does that damage, why we can get to that point. And taking 2 attacks every turn is super, super strong. Way stronger than having counterattack. Because in counterattack, first off, you're not counterattacking when the stun happens. And second, counterattack does 75% of damage. Doesn't do full damage. So having 2 attacks every turn just makes the damage that we can do so much bigger. Not only that, but it allows us to place the debuffs much more often, much more regularly. So I'm hopeful this might even be like a 2-key team without having the masteries. And those masteries do a lot of damage for us. Each one of those Giant Slayer hits is about 60, 70k, I think. So, or War Master strikes. They do the same damage, actually. So that's kind of an interesting little... I'm interested to see how this goes. So anyway, that's what we're going to do today. So let me show you the champions we're using really quick. I can show you how I built them, and then we'll go in and we'll do the run. We'll just kind of see what happens. A nice, quick little video. We'll do a little experimentation today. So let's, we'll put on our scientist hats and get to it. All right, obviously, Bateater, we're using man-eaters. We have 2 of them. This one's at 270 speed. You can see the stats we got. Used Hell Hades Optimizer to make this work. Got a lot, 100% crit rate. That's what we're looking for in all these champions. We try to build the attack up as much as possible. There's so much room to improve on that. Same thing with the crit damage, and it matters for all the champions. When you're trying to get to that 1 key especially, it matters. Now, these are all the essential masteries you want. And like I said, I'll go over why we choose these ones, what each of them does when I go over the game on video down below if you want to see that. But these are all the essential masteries. This is going to give us counterattack here, so we'll get some free counterattacks. This will give us the War Master, so we get that extra damage, which we definitely want. This will heal us up so that we have enough HP to get the counterattack. These are all essential masteries. So that's all we need. Like, I have other ones open, that's fine. But you can see, it's not, we still have room. Like, he hasn't finished these masteries on this champion. And you'll see on all of them, none of the masteries are done. We look at the other Maneater, he doesn't even have enough to get down to War Master. He does have the counterattack, that's about it though. Feign doesn't have anything. Painkeeper doesn't have hardly anything. And then even if we go down here, where's his Seeker? It's not fully built, I have the cursor over. Also don't have anything, so probably move myself over. Okay, a little easier to see now. But you can see none of these champions have full masteries. They all are missing a considerable amount of stuff, and that's a major damage boost there. If we look at the other Maneater, you can see we got our at 248 speed right there. And again, very similar crit rate, crit damage, attack as the other Maneater, which is great. We've got Feign here. She's our damage dealer, right? So we want to stack her up as much as possible. 4,100 attack. I'd love to get that higher, right? This is not as high as I would like to do it. A big thing that affects us are those accessories. We got the 220 speed, crit rate, crit damage are both solid. I have crit rate gloves on her. I'd love to get those to be crit damage gloves, get this crit damage up to like 250 range would be ideal, but we have to deal with what we can. Also, the accuracy there is really good. Now, another great thing that you can do, another reason why Bateater is so amazing, it's one of the only comps I know where you can put a champion in Relentless gear and it won't throw it off. And that's what you can do here with Feign. You can put her in Relentless gear. We don't have that quality of gear to do that, but that is a potential, and that's a huge damage multiplier. Just getting free attacks over and over is really, really nice. So that's definitely something you want to get at when you can. Now, you can always take your damage dealer down the support tree, but you want those free counterattacks from the defensive tree. That makes such a big difference as far as getting extra damage in. Definitely, always, if you can get extra attacks, you always want extra attacks. We also have Painkeeper here. Now, I put Painkeeper in a Toxic set. With Feign, we're going to have a lot of empty debuff slots, so having Painkeeper in Toxic helps to fill that up a little bit. You want to be careful that you're not overfilling it. So, you know, if you feel like, hey, maybe there's a different champion you want to put that on, or you don't want to use it, that's fine too. But I find this gives us just that little bit extra oomph that can help us do a little bit more damage. Now, one thing I will note about her masteries. Now, down the defensive tree, if you come down here to Retribution, this will give you a chance to counterattack. Now, we all know Painkeeper on our A1 gets a 10% turn meter boost. This is why it's so hard to tune with Painkeeper. So in order to make sure that this works, we have to have our Maneater, the slowest Maneater, faster than her by about 8 to 10 speed. That also means we need Painkeeper at the very bottom of the threshold of speed tuning. That means we have her here at 239 speed. That's about as low as we can go to make this comp work. So 239, 240, and that means we need our fast or slow Maneater at least 248 speed. We need that 8 speed gap, if not a little bit more. But otherwise, she'll overspeed him and it'll throw the comp off. We don't want that. So it's really, really important, and it's a nice little addition, right? We can get a little bit more damage, get those free counterattacks. Maybe we can get some free toxic poisons. That's always lovely, but you have to be careful about that. So you gotta sync those speeds up. Generally, I don't recommend going that route with Painkeeper. I would normally recommend going down the support tree here and allowing those heals to do more work for you. That way you're just avoiding that altogether. But if you really want to push the damage, take it to that next level, that's the way to go with it. And then, of course, last we have Seeker here. And Seeker, we have built 249 speed. Try to get as much attack as we could, not quite there. Crit rate, again, crit rate gloves, and crit damage about as high as we're going to do. Seeker's very hard to gear out. He's an attack-based champion with low base attack, so it's hard to get that high. And so it's always just a challenge, especially at these speeds, to get really high damage stats. But it's not going to really matter. This is easy 2-key team on Ultra Nightmare when we have Masteries. When we don't have Masteries, I have no idea. But it should be pretty close is my guess. So we'll see how this goes here. But that's the team. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead and we're going to do the run. Oh, before we do the run, I should show you exactly what I did for the team setup here. So let me show you guys. I have it saved right here. So as far as the team setup goes, with whoever your damage dealer is, it doesn't really matter, right? You obviously prioritize your best skills, but generally they're going to do that on their own. For Feign, it's no big deal. She's going to use her skills when they come up, so we can pretty much leave that alone. Seeker, Now, Seeker, you want to start with that A2 and it just flows right into it. You can go ahead and start with the A1 if you want. You can skip it on the first turn, but you don't really have to. So you can just use the A2. If you are going to use a champion like Gentoro, you just need to skip this on the first turn. Just use the A1 on the first turn, and because Gentoro has a turn meter boost, that's the only thing that'll fix it and make Gentoro work perfectly for you. But otherwise, everybody else, you can pretty much start with Tailwind and get it going right from the jump. Now, with obviously the Man-Eaters. Now, the slow Man-Eater, this is a slow one. You can see the speed over here, 248. He needs to do the Siphon first. He's going to use the Ancient Blood on the second attack. So we just make that the first option. He always prioritizes Ancient Blood. Now, one of the things we can do, just to ensure that he uses his Siphon and we're not dealing with any rogue AI issues, is we can always prioritize those skills the way they need to be, which is a pretty solid way to go, I would recommend. And this is the Fast Man-Eater. We want him to start with that, so we just make it the opening skill. So simple, guys. And then Painkeeper. This is the one I really recommend you do every time, because sometimes Painkeeper will not always use Spectacular Sweep. This is a heal ability. If your whole team is full health or close to it, won't always use that skill, especially like on Nightmare and Brutal, where the damage is a lot less. Sometimes you won't use that skill, and that'll actually throw off your comp, and people always are like, this isn't working, why isn't this working? That's usually the reason. So prioritizing these skills makes it so Painkeeper will use that on the regular. You don't have to worry about your HP level of your team, and that's just going to make it a lot smoother to run for yourself. We want to start with Combat Tactics, and then we want to follow up with Spectacular Sweep. Easy breezy. This is now a full auto team. All we have to do is click start, and it works. I really don't have to do anything. It is start on auto right now. It's gonna go perfectly. That's it. So now the question is, how much damage can we do? Now, admittedly, this is not the most optimized Bateater team I've ever put together, right? I only had so much to work with within the gear. The speeds were the priority, but we got there speed-wise, and we did get crit rate on everybody, 100%. But we don't have the most attack. We don't have the most crit damage. So this would never be a one-key team anyway, right? Even with all the masteries, it's just not that. It's not at that level yet. But it should still be at least a 50 to 60 million team, right? In that kind of, probably the 50, 55 million range, I would imagine. So we're going to see, without those masteries, what kind of damage are we doing with this? And my guess is it's still going to be about it's somewhere between 32 to 38 million, right around that 2-key range. And the reason why is we get so many freaking attacks, guys. We're getting debuffs from Fane, we're getting debuffs from Painkeeper, right? And we're just getting attacks over and over and over again, which is just huge for us. Because of Fane, we're able to keep decreased defense and weaken up the entire fight. And that by itself is pretty outstanding. That's gonna just make our damage go so much higher. You can see we're getting pretty good damage from Fane, okay damage from Seeker, but you can see Man-Eater's doing 75k a hit, which is pretty impressive, 60,000 a hit. And you can see those War Master procs are worth 67,000 damage, I think. That's pretty much the same as the normal damage of the Man-Eater, so it's like a free Man-Eater attack every time. So we're getting it from one of them. We're not getting it from all of them, and that's going to be a real big damage reducer for us, basically. Every single turn, we should be getting the opportunity for 10 of those strikes, right? We have 10 attacks, 5 champions each go twice, right? We get 10 attacks. So that should be about 6 of those every single turn. We're maybe getting 1. Maybe, right? We're on average getting about 1 a turn. That's a big damage reduction. That's like, what, 250,000, 300,000 damage reduction per turn? That's a big, big drop in the damage potential of our team. But we're still putting up great damage because this team moves so fast. So anyway, I thought this would be kind of neat. Hopefully you guys kind of enjoy this. We'll just jump ahead towards the end there. Maybe around turn 40, check it out. And yeah, we'll do that. And we'll play some music. If you enjoy it, I have that soundtrack link down below, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's be back in a bit. Not too bad, right? 38 million damage. Didn't I say right around there? Pretty good at this kind of thing. But that's a solid 2 key team. And we're not getting any of those War Master procs on there. That really does add a significant amount of damage. And if you want to see how much, look at the 2 Man-Eaters. We got one at 9 million and the other one's at 5.4. You want to guess what the difference is? War Master procs. It is a significant damage booster for your team. I mean, that's not quite 50% damage, but it's about 60% of the damage, right? It's a huge boost to your team. If you could add 4 million to all 5 of these champions, now we're in that 58 million range. Like I said, it really pushes the comp a lot farther. So for a lot of you guys, when you're struggling, especially at the very early levels, when you're talking like normal, hard, brutal, there's a reason why I don't build teams around those difficulties. Because really all you need is masteries. You put War Master on your champions, all of a sudden you're beating that level of boss in at least 2 tries, right? You're at least 2 keying, if not 1 keying those. So it doesn't really take a lot to make those teams work. You just got to get the masteries on. It does such a big difference as far as damage goes. So that was it. That was the team. That was the build. I thought it was kind of neat to see that without the masteries. Now, I didn't want to go ahead and spend the gems from Lowell on that. He's already working on the masteries. I figure if he's comfortable doing that, he can do that. And in the meantime, he's still got a 2-key Ultra Nightmare team, which is pretty ridiculous. So you can continue to improve that, continue to build it up, and eventually, hopefully, should be able to get to a 1-key team, which is pretty ridiculous. Because you can do that with Thane. You can definitely get to a 1-key there. There's plenty of champions that can do that for you, though, as well. So big thanks to Lowell. I really appreciate him and all my other Patreons, honestly, for signing up and taking my expertise, finding it valuable. So if you are one of those people, feel free to sign up as well. I'd look forward to it. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. That's the gist of today's video. So if you enjoyed this, subscribe, like. I like doing these kind of random stuff. I'm gonna start doing more things that I find fun, honestly. I got away from that a little bit, so we're gonna get back to that. And yeah, till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.